this computer. Okay, welcome. As I cough to the weekly strategy webinar, we're doing these Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday at 12 p.m. East. The idea here is that I usually start with some topic or some kind of demo to get going. And then you guys can ask, you can do Q&A, ask any questions you might have related to working KV Core or marketing your real estate business in general. The replays are always at insiderealestate.com/webinars. I have this up on the screen here. And then you can always post to the Facebook group if you have any questions in the meantime. We also post the replays there at insiderealestate.com/Facebook group. So what I wanted to do today was to talk a little bit about this idea of creating a webinar and funnelizing a webinar. So and the idea, we talked about this last week or the week before, would be to get into this cadence where maybe once a month or even once a week, you do some kind of live event that's used to convert the current people in your database into customers, but you basically will interact with them just like I'm interacting with you right now on this webinar over some piece of content. So what I was hoping to do today was to start building out an actual webinar, show you the tools that I'll use to do that. And then tomorrow, build out the funnel, meaning the traffic source and then the registration page, and set it up so that the leads from the registration page go straight into KV Core and have some kind of follow-up and tag. So today, we're not going to be in KV Core too much because we're actually going to build out the webinar, and then we'll be doing that tomorrow. So the first step here, the thing I always do when I'm going to create a presentation is I head into Google Drive at drive.google.com right here. And then I like to use the Google Slides feature, which is basically PowerPoint on Windows. If you have Microsoft Office, you could also use PowerPoint for this. If you have a Mac machine and you like to use, I think it's called Keynote, right? I used it years ago. I forget what it's called, but Keynote. But basically, the first step is going to be to build out your presentation. And I think this is the stage at which a lot of people would almost kind of give up on this idea or stop because I think the tendency with a lot of people is going to be, okay, now I need to pick the style, right? And I got to get into the design of this webinar. And I need to get my logo on here. And I need to make it look like my office. All these things are going to flood into your head because you're doing this presentation and you want it to look professional. I kind of roll the other way, as you might have noticed. And this has served me well over the years. Is where it's kind of a ready, fire, aim approach, right? And I don't know if you guys have all read this, but ready, fire, aim approach. And I almost do this with all my marketing, really, because you never know what's going to work, right? And you never know what's going to work until you kind of get the thing out there into the world and see if it's going to work. So here's the book I'm referencing by Michael Masterson. I think that's a pen name for Mark Ford or something like that. But really good book. And basically what it talks about is you get the thing going. Instead of aiming real hard would be trying to figure out what my slides look like. And I want it to look professional. And I want the black background to be the same color as my logo and all this other stuff, right? Instead, you're going to just get ready, as we are right now. And then you're going to fire. You're going to get started. And for me, I can bust out a webinar if I need to. I can put on a really good presentation with about 10 minutes to 15 minutes of preparation. Partly because I practiced this, but partly because if you are an expert on the topic that you're talking about, in our case, we're going to be doing webinars about local real estate, which most of us, we're in this profession and, we can belt this out pretty quickly. It shouldn't be hard. So what I generally do is I go to the first slide and I come up with my title. I will usually have this idea already, right? So I'll go first time investors, real estate investors webinar. Investors webinar. And I might do Pinellas County or my market, right? Or just keep it generic. So you could keep it really hyper local to your market. Now, what did I do here from a design perspective? Nothing. I just used the white slide with the Arial font that was sitting there, right? And then I'm going to go ahead into my text box. I'm going to say, presented by Ryan Hartman, Forever Florida Real Estate. And when people hop on my webinar, this is what they're going to see. Now, in the minds of the people coming, how many of them do you think are thinking, wow, that's a really plain vanilla slide? No, you're the only one who cares about that. All they care about is the actual content and how the content's going to help them in their lives, right? So that's it. That's where I start with my design. And I want to share this because I don't know how many of you guys are building slides. This can be really easy. And then what I'll do is I'll make the subsequent slides basically my outline, okay? So I'm going to just go duplicate right here. I'm right-clicking the slides on the left side. I'll get some going right there, right? Actually, what I'll do is a lot of times I'll make the second one and I'll say, I'll ask a question. Why is now a great time to invest in Pinellas County real estate? So I'll start asking myself, kind of creating bullet points for topics around this in no particular order. So why is now a great time? All right, I'm going to make this slow, so small, so I have room for bullet points. All right, because I want to have bullet points to talk about underneath. I'll get rid of this, hit delete. And then I'll do, okay, why is real estate investing a good idea? Right, and I'll probably do that first. I'll also do, is it a good idea in today's macroeconomic environment? Is REI a good idea? So I'm just kind of asking myself questions that I would ask, right? What I would expect a client to be thinking about around this topic. And keep in mind, this doesn't need to be about investing. It could be a first-time home buyer, you know, how to get grants, how to trade up, how to trade down. There's all kinds of topics we could do. You know, you could do a recruiting webinar, anything. It's the same kind of framework with respect to the technology you're going to use and the process for creating out the content. So this one is REI going. Why is now a great time to invest? How do I get money? How do I get money to invest? Then we'll do, and you guys who are watching, give me some ideas here. What other things do you think people would ask them? What about property management? I don't want to, isn't landlording hard, right? I'm going to do on this one, are we in a bubble? Yeah, Dan's asking, can we use PowerPoint? Yeah, definitely. So same thing, PowerPoint. I always come here. What I love about Google Drive, of course, is that it's just always there. Like if my computer shuts off right now, or if I want to go do this on another computer, it's just always sitting there in my Google Drive account. So but definitely PowerPoint's a good way to go. Dan's always asking questions. I appreciate it. It keeps this thing lively. Oh, great question, Mike. Mike's asking, is there a way to, how do I get money to invest? Can I invest in a group? Can I invest with a partner or as part of a group? Right? You know, how do I find good deals? We're going to start to transition toward the end, right? How do I find best deals? Right, so I'm gonna put this in this order. So, you know, at this point, guys, you know, for somebody who's never done this before, I mean, this content, by the time we talk about all this, will be a good 25, 30 minutes to an hour to get through and provide a lot of value if you ask all these questions. One that I like to always bring up is what parts of the local market are best placed, you know, what parts of the local market are best for finding deals? Should I, in my market, there's always going to be the question, probably in a lot of markets, should I short-term or long-term rent, right? It's kind of related up here in this section around, is it landlording hard? You know, the property management. How do I find the best deals? What parts? So I'm probably missing a few here. But now, once you've got your outline and you've got these main kind of bullet points on the slides, we are going to start to, and I'm selfishly going to use you guys. Now, everybody watching this live, I'll give you these slides, right? So you can kind of take them and make them your own. We'll make it kind of a resource that we can all use. But now let's just go through, if you guys don't mind, and bullet point these out. I'm going to crowdsource this. And you could do this with people in your office, right? Or you could always go into our Facebook group and just say, hey, guys, I'm working on some slides. What am I missing here, right? So let's go. I'm going to go on this slide. I'm going to go insert text box right here. Um, so why is it a good idea? Well, lots of people get rich uh, holding, right? Holding real estate, rich via real estate. Um, so tax appreciation, right? Tax advantages, cash flow, right? Come on, guys, give me some. Why is it a good idea to invest in real estate? Can perform better. The store might perform better than cash, stock market. You have more active control, right, over real estate, over a property you own. Land is scarce. Passive income, right? Cash flow and passive income. Dan said, yeah, income. Let's see. Something fun to do. Something to do. I like this point because I'm, I don't know if I share this, but I don't think she'll mind. But like my wife, we have kids and they're getting older, right? So you guys have probably experienced too. A lot of you, like, kids get older and mom had a career and everything, and now she's thinking about what to do next, but likes the flexibility of not having to go to a job. So I'm like, hey, let's maybe this is a good place to go. Like, let's start working on this. Let's acquire a property or two, and things like that. So something to do could be a good one, and a good reason. There could be people just sitting around, housewives, retirees, looking for something to do. So, this is a kind of a fun way with a lot of flexibility to jump into real estate investing. It's probably the biggest not make money online, but one of the biggest niches out there for people who want to make a side income. So these are pretty good, right? So what I would generally do, you can actually expand on these with their own slides, but really you can just talk through these, right? We're probably expert enough now that as we do our webinar live, we can just talk through each of these points and what they are. But if we want to have more info in the slides, we can. Thanks, Dan. Leverage. Mike's saying the only investment you can make where you don't have to purchase the entire item up front, as in stock. So really, Mike, is it fair to say leverage? Like, you can, right? So Landis scores leverage. Use OPM to acquire and pay off the house. I mean, you're using other people's money, using banks' money to acquire the property, and then you're using other people's money, that your tenants, to pay off the mortgage, pay off the financing note. Try to keep it in non. Yeah. Sure, leverage. Yeah. Mike said it sounds fancy. I don't know if you guys can all see the chat, so let's see here. Yeah, I think it's just coming to me right now. I don't know. Are you guys able to? Maybe that's a setting I need to toggle. So I've never thought of this, but maybe I need to toggle it so you're able to chat it to everybody. That might be something I need to do on my end for the next one. So I'll try to do that. So, okay, is real estate investing a good idea in today's macroeconomic environment? So we're gonna, we are in the craziest times of our life, of course. So this is a meaty one, but depends what you believe, what you think of where the world is going, right? So, and you can go through this without getting too political or commentating here, but, cash, lots of cash being printed. Yeah. Okay. Mike's saying people will always, cash being printed, inflation possibilities, real estate is tangible. People will always need a place to live. And then in my market, I'd say Pinellas County equals paradise. Great local and vacationing. Pool. You might throw a little editorial in there for your own market, right? People always need a place to live. Money is cheap right now, right? Interest rates are low. What were you saying I might not want to do, Dan? Did I say something that might be a compliance hot button? I I know I can do that sometimes. So I might not want to do that. So, oh, the political. Yeah, no, I don't want to do that. But it depends on what you think, where the world is going. Showing the chat to everybody. Yeah. So yeah, you would go through some of these, right? You know, if you believe that the money is cheap, that there's a chance inflation's coming, that the asset prices might go up, so that the price of real estate might go up along with asset prices. You feel uncomfortable. You got a lot of cash sitting around that you think could get inflated away because of what's going on in the world. Then you might look at real estate and say, hey, this is a kind of cheap place a good place to park my money. And I think a lot of people, just for you guys watching, whether you believe it or not, there are a lot of people in the market thinking this way right now. So if you can build messaging around that idea, you're going to appeal to those people and separate yourself from the other professionals in your market who aren't talking about this. So all that stuff. Why is now a great time to invest in Pinellas County? So I would go location specific stuff. I'm not going to make you guys watch me build this whole thing out, so I won't do this one. But I might just talk about some things that are going on in the local market, how do I get money to invest, right? So insert text box. And a lot of people don't know, right? You can use your IRA. Can you use your 401k? You can, right? In some way for acquisition. This is where I would, you got to be careful, like consult your accountant, right? But you can kind of touch on this stuff. How do I get my, save it? Saving. Use partners. Use traditional banks, mortgage companies, private lender / bank hybrids. I found one recently that's like, I talked about this, that's like, they're kind of like a private lender, but it's kind of a mortgage experience. I don't know them. Private personal contacts. Want to partner. Home equity line on your current house. So in this process, I would probably talk about the different resources that I know about. I might even have my lender on who I've done investment loans with before, something like that. They could come on and talk about the financing part. Rich relative, right? Private lenders, somebody said private contacts you want to partner, rich relative. I mean, this is not crazy right here. If you've got a rich relative and you can present the right real estate deal to them and they're thinking they need a place to park their cash and they like you, there's tons of training out in the world about doing this. And you might be surprised at how many people say, yeah, secured by real estate, this doesn't seem too risky to me. Sure, let's go in on this together if you're going to do the work. Oh, great one. Crowdsourcing, Mike says, crowdsourcing. There's sites, right, that you can do this. I need to do some research, but I know that this is kind of a thing right now, crowdsourcing and crowdfunding. Let me get the puppy here. 1 second. Come on. Every time I get on a webinar, there's a dog barking. All right. So yeah, how do I get the money to invest? Can I invest with a partner as a part of a group? Yes. Here's how. So I might give some tips about how to do that. Yes, this is the hardest part, maybe, right? And then you address it. You say, if you don't want to be active, hire management, right? So you talk about if your company offers property management, or if you do, hire management, adjust your strategy accordingly. Like you could, buy, fix, flip. You could buy, rent long-term to long-term tenants. You choose the property accordingly. The argument could be made, if you really want easy property management, you buy in A locations with great tenant pools, and you're just really careful about tenant screening. So tenant screening. And this is falling apart a little here, guys, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to revise this for my own presentation, and then I'll share it with you guys with a little more structure in it. Yeah, that's what Dan's saying. Could I build something similar for first-time buyer instead of investor? I was going to do first-time buyer, but I thought that was boring because I've done it 20 times. But yeah, absolutely. I've done, and that's a good one to do with your lender. So same exact thing. Go buy like How to Buy Your First House for Dummies or whatever book is out there, right? Or read some articles online and just steal their bullet points, and turn those into your bullet points in your slides. Should I short-term or long-term rent? I don't know if I need that one. How do I find the best deals? Now, how do you do this? Right? Well, now we're getting to the end where it's like, well, subscribe to my deals updates, right? So I have a KV Core landing page. I work with a few investors. Work with an agent. We'll do it like this. Work with an agent who's willing to submit competitive offers, meaning, I don't know about you guys, there's a certain niche. Not too many people do this, but if you do actively work with investors, you need to be ready to kind of have the mindset that, hey, in order to find good deals, the money comes on the buy side, right? A lot of savvy investors know this. They're going to want to try to get the best deal possible. So a lot of times they're going to want to throw offers that might feel too low, but that's how you find great deals. So you want to work with an agent who's willing to submit competitive offers. If you're going to work the investor niche, I'd argue you should be kind of set up to do this and put yourself out there as, hey, I'm willing to do this for you if I know that you're serious, you're qualified, and your offer is somewhere within reason. You want to work with an agent who's patient enough to help you find the good deals. So that's what I would say on the webinar, is that I'm somebody who's willing to do this with you. How to find the best deals. Foreclosures, maybe. Here's how REOs work, right? So I would probably in this webinar address the fact that, everybody who takes a real estate course thinks that they can just go get a list of bank-owned foreclosures, and throw lowball offers at them, so there's an opportunity to talk about how asset managers work and how you need to have cash deals and everything. Focus on motivateds and the MLS. So I'd give a few pointers, right, to demonstrate my value, basically. And the idea here in the content is that you're giving tactical advice for how they might help. And the logical purpose of this webinar is to have people, by the time you get to the end, say, oh, this is the agent that I want to work with on this topic, because they clearly know their stuff and they're going to do these tactical things that are going to help me. So naturally, the goal by the end of the webinar is to have at least one or two of them in the chat, right? Or something saying, hey, can you give me a call? How do I get in touch with you? Stuff like that. And that's the goal. Borrow and emulate, never steal, divorce lawyer. Oh, divorce lawyers. Oh, good one. Divorce lawyers. How about probate? I don't know a ton about that. Probate lawyers or lists? Mike's saying. Mike, that was good too, about the cost for management, tax deductions. Did I say, tax advantages / deductions? I just want to make sure I kind of had a note about that. But yeah, I mean, appreciation on, what is it, 27.5 over 27.5 years? Is that how it works? I'm trying to remember. It's a good deal. And what's fun about doing these guys is that it forces you to you pick the topic and you might be so-so on it, in your own head, and it forces you to go do the research and become more expert. So you get that benefit too. Okay. I find that sales, and then what parts of the local market, and then I would just show a map. We got to be careful here, right? Show a map, but I'll leave this up to you. I mean, this is touchy. If you show a map and put up certain areas, all I would do in my market is say, hey, here are some neighborhoods close to the beach, like St. Pete, Florida. This is what I would do. And I might even, honestly, I might even check with my broker before I actually do this. But to me, I think we're okay if I go like this, right? And I do. My advice would be just roughly. I'll show you what I'll do here in a second. But I just use my screenshot, right? 10 minutes to the beach, but not on the beach. And find stuff between 150 to 250K. You know, this is still possible in my market. For any of you who are in my market and shaking your heads going, not that possible. Well, it's still possible to some extent. You know, it is doable. So this is what I mean. Like, so if you're going to show the map on where to find the best deals, I would just be careful on the compliance stuff and consult your broker. And I'm going to do that too. But this is what I would want to do. I would want to talk specifically about the tenant pool and local market conditions and where I think people want to be in terms of renting. You might also say, hey, there's a new opportunity zone or whatever it's called over here. You know, there's a lot of new construction over here. But definitely check with your broker on the compliance side of this. Or just say, you could leave it and say, what are the best part for finding the deals? And you could say on your webinar, hey, I'm not going to give away the whole banana on this webinar. Contact me and I'll tell you what I think. If you want to keep that offline, that could be a good way to do that too, right? So there's a call to action. Call to action at the end. Dan says, be careful with your... Yeah, I guess so. He said, be careful when you're wrong. I see where you're going there. Okay. Mike uses Zillow market analysis for his zip code in the city. I'll share a tip with you guys too. This is a little bit on the side, but we got some time. Rental value calculator. I've talked about this before, but I recently used this to sell my wife on one. I love this one. It's on calculator.net, rental property calculator. It's a really good free calculator. I'll chat it to everybody. But I've talked before about this one where you can just literally do a screencast, right? So in this case, I did it with my wife, but you could do it to an investor you're working with or just for the public, and do a screencast of yourself at analyzing a property, and it spits out a really good calculation. And this might even be a tile tool for evaluating properties. So what am I doing right now, guys? You know, I'm kind of like brainstorming and dumping, right? Ideas. It's kind of the ready, fire, aim. I'm kind of getting these slides ready. I could fire this up and just do a webinar without much more preparation. But now that I've gotten my main ideas down, right? So I'll throw my calculator up. This. And on the webinar, I might jump over and show myself using it. All right, so put the URL there. The idea being that, you know, there's tons of value being delivered here. For somebody who shows up and watches this, you know, they're gonna be like, oh, that was great. You gave me a link to the calculator. You gave me some ideas that I wasn't really considering myself. I really think I might want to do this. Can I get the recording and send it to my spouse or my potential partner? That's the idea. So we've been on about 20 minutes, right? But you could come up with a nice outline. And if you want, you could go live with this content. So I might spend another half hour later tightening it up. I could throw a few images on here if I want to be cute, you know, and have a little fun with it. But that's about it. I would just end it with a next steps slide. Next steps. And literally, like, you do whatever you want to do, right? Just put your contact info or text me, right? Or, you know, visit my intake form. Right, you can make a form that has them answer some questions about what they're looking for. That's probably what I would do to make life easy. But maybe the first time I do the webinar live, I'll just have them text me to see if it works at all. And then if I get a lot of responses by text, you know, the next step when I get the text is going to be, I'm going to have to like get on the phone and talk to them about what they're looking for. I could build an intake form that kind of pre-qualifies for me, right? Hey, is this your first time investing? What's your price range? How much cash do you have liquid? All this other stuff. So Dan's asking, would this be a live slideshow you do at a certain time? Yep. So my take on this is that what I've been telling people, and I've talked to a few brokers in particular who have a lot of agents, is I said the biggest thing you can do from both a lead generation, but more from a converting your existing leads into transaction standpoint, is to do a presentation like this at least once a month. If you can swing it twice or 4 times a month, like where you're doing a live thing the same time every week. And my idea, which I'm going to show you guys tomorrow, would be to email an invite link to this event every week. Say, hey, this week we're going to talk about investing in real estate for the first time in Pinellas County. And I would show up at that time and do it. Now, I like this question, Dan, a lot, because I know that it's easy for me to sit here. I've done hundreds of these and just say, hey, guys, go do this. Now, if you're uncomfortable doing it live, you can go get Screencast-O-Matic or a similar screencasting software. There's nothing stopping you, right? This is the one I use, Screencast-O-Matic. There's nothing stopping you from in the privacy of your own office, you know, without a lot of stress of being live and knowing how to use the technology and messing with Zoom and everything. You could just record this and not be talking to anybody. Just say, hey, welcome to the first time Pinellas Investors webinar, and walk through it all as a draft the first time, and then just email it out to everybody. Or make it a blog post or post it to your YouTube. There's so many different ways you can use the same content. So the first few times you do this, the first few topics, maybe you do it for yourself. You're still going to be able to use the content and send it to people, right? But if you're worried about being live, then do that. If you are worried about being live, another option would be to find a partner who does a lot of these. So you could find, maybe you have a lender who does a lot of webinars, right? Who you mate in your market, right? Who's comfortable, and you see them and say, hey, do you want to do this with me? We'll share the leads. Or just tap like a kid who has a YouTube channel or something and make them be the host, right? And ask them to be the host on it. And they can intro you and go from there, you know, or somebody who does a lot of these presentations. But don't let the live thing definitely scare you away. You can definitely just record this. And make sure your camera is off. You could do that too. Is mine on right now? Yeah, you know, your camera does not need to be on, that's for sure. So it could be off like that. Okay. So I think Zoom can kill your career. Yes, got it. Now I get the spirit of that. All right. We had an office meeting last week. I had a whole slide. Ernest is watching. I had a whole slide about that whole event. And I was like, you know what? I got to keep this safe for work. And I just kept it safe for work. Now I feel like a wuss. But thank you, Dan, for bringing that up. I had a great slide too. I said something like, make sure you don't tube in it or something like that. It was a really good play on words. Oh well. All right, guys. So that's it. I'm going to do this is the first step in the process. Like I said, we weren't going to spend a lot of time in KV Core. The only thing I'll mention is that eventually we're going to take this content, we're going to mass send it out via KV Core. We're going to put it in our blog. We might use for the call to action, right? We could use a text code, text invest to smart number, right? As my call to action. And you might even put this call to action on the bottom of every slide as people are watching in case they get bored. That's actually a really good idea. So I can insert, I think, a footer. I haven't done this in a while. There's a way to create a global footer. If anybody here remembers how to do that. So I could just create or just manually put it on there and have a footer. It's like text invest to smart number. So anybody who doesn't watch the whole thing, they can text me and I get the cell number leads too. Not to go too much further today. First step, create the content. Come up with something. First-time home buyers, first-time investors. I had a list of them. How to become a real estate agent. This is a really awesome one, right? Think about how cool that is. How to become a real estate agent. For those of you who have a brokerage or you're in a brokerage where recruiting is incentivized, you know, you could do a whole thing about how to become a real estate agent and then invite all the people in your existing database to come watch this thing, right? Or advertise it on Facebook. So it's all the flow is always the same. Fire up your slide thing like Google Slides or PowerPoint. Start writing out your bullet points. Then start adding bullet points for each bullet point. So each bullet point is its own slide, and then each one kind of has like subheadings right here. And you know, by the time you get all this done, you have plenty to talk about for 30 to 60 minutes on a webinar. So I think I'm going to leave it here and let you guys, if you have anything else that you'd like to address right now related to KV Core, we can take a few minutes to do that. And then when I come tomorrow, I'm going to try to have these slides ready for you guys. And I'm going to talk about the next step, which is going to be to create the event in Zoom. I'm going to use Zoom to do it and to invite people to the Zoom. And actually, I have to make sure, because I'm going to be on Zoom, I have to make sure I can create the event. I can't. Yeah, I think I'll be able to show you guys that live. I just want to make sure I can actually use Zoom while I'm recording on Zoom. So that's what we'll do tomorrow. Was there anything else? Anybody, any feedback from the few of you guys who are watching on this? If you're watching on YouTube or somewhere else, go ahead and comment down below. We'll get to you. We have insiderealestate.com/Facebook group where you can do this. But I really think this is the key, guys, for next level follow-up and conversion. And also these become great lead magnets. You can use these to generate leads as well. But the trick is to create the content first. And you know, you might have just 2 or 3 of these webinars that you do on a rotating basis. You know, maybe you do this same webinar once a month and you just do 3 and you just re-invite everybody, you know, on the second Tuesday every month, you do the investor one and so on. So Hoping this is useful for everybody. We'll see you tomorrow at 12 p.m. East again. And that's about it. If there's no other comments. Thanks a lot, Dan and Mike, for your participation. Really helpful. Dan's asking, do you keep the webinar on YouTube afterwards? Absolutely, if you want to. So, everybody's going to want the replay. The other really useful thing, you guys have probably seen me doing this, so useful. Like when you get questions, right? So I'm going to go to our channel. When you get questions from clients and customers, and they're like, hey, is now a good time to invest? Right? And it's like it's going to take you 30 minutes to answer that. Right? Now you have this webinar, you have this video, and you can say, yeah, actually, I did a webinar about that. Right? And here, I'm pausing this. And you can actually link them to specific, I don't know if I think most of us know this, but you can share YouTube videos at specific times. So if it's a specific question you covered within your webinar, you can say link to 100 seconds in and say, yeah, I covered that on my recent webinar about 13 minutes in, and send them a link right to that point where you were talking. So definitely keep it on YouTube. This is kind of the secret sauce when it comes to conversions is content marketing. It's the stuff Gary Vee always talks about. It's what a lot of the social media experts in the real estate industry talk about. And this to me is something I don't see a lot of people doing at a high level. I know people are doing it, but not a ton of people are really doing this. And if you really want to take those leads that are coming into KV Core, you got those 500 people in there, those 1,000 people in there, and you really want them to engage with you and respond to you, send them invites to this, post this content out there, let them engage with it. And the quality of lead that you're going to get by the time somebody gets to the very end of this and they've listened to you talk for half hour is through the roof, right? There's no question. They're just going to reach out and they're going to ask you, what do we do? When can we go start looking for properties? And that's the goal. So, all right. Phil, I'll get off my horse on this, but I love this topic. Thank you guys for participating, and we'll be back tomorrow at 12 p.m. East to talk about it a little more. Stop share and